How's everyone doing today? This is Shawn Huber, your mental mechanic. I am coming to you today to talk about mindset, and I'll give you a little bit of background how I got involved in all this and how it has not only changed my life, but the people that I've worked with. So, back in the day, I started exercising around 12 years old. It was interesting being around older adults in the gym because back then there wasn't a lot of young people in there. And people would talk to you as a person, not as an adult. And when you're in high school, it's interesting how each grade looks down and there's such a difference between age ranges, and there really isn't. Because when you think about it, my wife and I are 10 years apart, and we get weirded out when we talk about me in high school and where she was in elementary school type thing. And you start to realize, like, what are these limiting beliefs that we're creating? And as I started exercising, I got involved in wanting to take what I was doing into a career. And I thought, hey, it would be cool to become a physical therapist and help people out. So I started looking into the schools, and I went to Florida Atlantic University, and they had it combined in business and in also pre-med. The thing was, I didn't have a perfect GPA. And they're like, listen, it's going to take you this amount of time to go through this. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do what I really enjoy doing, and that's helping people. So I went to massage therapy school. That actually was a little bit more difficult than the program I was in because of how strict they wanted it to be, with you learning all about the physical side. Now, the interesting thing about the physical side is there is this psychological side where there's muscle memory. And I'm thinking, okay, what's muscle memory? So if we've ever been in a car accident or something physically has happened to us, the muscle actually stores the memory. So you can touch someone and they pull this memory out of their mind, and it starts to create some physical and emotional interactions going on. I thought that was really interesting, and I became a personal trainer after that and started to wonder, okay, why do certain people show up at the gym by themselves? What's the difference when they're working with me to by themselves? And why do only people sometimes just show up because they have an appointment with me? And a lot of it's accountability, where sometimes people are like, the only reason I show up is I have an appointment and I'm paying for it. I need you to do this for me. I'm like, really? And I was like, okay, how do I get these people to show up differently? And again, as a trainer, we're telling people what to do. So I started looking into coaching and got certified and said, okay, now I can ask questions. And I started asking questions of why people do what they do, whether at the gym, and how that impacted them, not just as they're exercising with me, but outside. Like, where were their goals situated and why were they doing what they were doing? And a lot of people really hadn't thought about those things. So as they started to decide their own goals, I was there to support that goal or goals. And they started coming in their own. They started doing some amazing things. And because of where I was located in the United States, was in Chapel Hill, it's a major university there, and a lot of computer type tech companies. And I got the privilege of working with very motivated people. And what's the difference between an athlete and a CEO? There was nothing. Highly driven in specific areas with goals, but once the goals were met, what did they do next? So they were driven for a result, and the result was usually outside of themselves. So I wanted to figure out, okay, what was the main thing behind this? And my wife and I had this amazing opportunity to move from North Carolina to Santa Barbara, California, where I got to coach full time and stop doing personal training. Now, let me just back up a little bit how this mindset piece really started to work with me. When I was in my early 30s, I was diagnosed with stage 3C cancer. I had Larry Einhorn, which was Lance Armstrong's doctor, to take care of me. I had testicular cancer. And as I was going through my treatments, which were about 4 months long, I lost about 45 pounds. And I was doing a lot of visualization work, cancer leaving my body like a Pac-Man eating it type thing. I was also doing a lot of holistic medicine on top of my chemotherapy. And my doctors kept telling me, hey, you got to stop doing this because it's screwing up your blood work. You got to do it this way so we know it works. I'm like, no, I don't. I can do whatever I want. Now, remember, these are highly sought after experts in their field, and I was going against them. They didn't like that at first until they started seeing when I was finished that there was zero scar tissue in my body, which there should have been a ton, that I was healthy quicker, that not only did I have testicular cancer, I had both types. They've never seen someone really recuperate that fast from it. And they started to ask me what I was doing. Now, at that point, being in quote remission, I would have different doctors throughout the year that were new, and they would put me in there to challenge the doctor's belief systems. Back then, no one cared about your diet or what else. They were like, the chemotherapy works, you got to do this, you can't do anything else. Well, I disprove that. Now, married in Chapel Hill, I'm starting to do these Tough Mudder races, and I go ahead and do one with some friends, and my left knee explodes, right? And the quad, which is a giant tendon above your kneecap, just ripped off the bone and went up my leg. And I'm like screaming in pain, and I'm out in the middle of nowhere, South Carolina. A doctor who's a client of mine hooks me up and fixes me up, right? As best he could. But once you're fixed, now what do you do? So the person who is constantly active now has this injury where I can't move, but I'm back at work in 10 days on crutches, pushing and moving and doing all this stuff. But once that all wears off, now how do you learn how to walk correctly or even run? I still to this day don't really run because it's still weak. There's no one there to push you further past than what the protocol states. We just got you to be good enough. And that's what the world is based on. Good enough. It's okay. Why do you want more? That's where 80% of our population comes from. So as I got into coaching more and more, I said, there's got to be something that can even accelerate this faster. And I got into hypnosis and then became certified as a medical hypnotherapist because I wanted to really help out not only my clients, but people who are going through trying times with medical issues, from cancer to depression, anxiety type of things. And what I started to realize is not only does this get rid of certain things like alcoholism, if you want to stop that, or smoking or eating issues, but it can also accelerate you in the positive way. But see, we're all run on a subconscious, unconscious level by an 8-year-old who had no choice in how they got brought into this world, and were bombarded by their parents, the way their parents looked at money, the way their parents looked at life, their religious beliefs, the friends that were around, social economic things, ethnic things, all kinds of things that in hypnosis are called filters. The thing is, this 8-year-old doesn't believe in facts. The 8-year-old believes in total emotions. And those are the things that we're really going to tie in today and talk about all these things that impact the way you think, the way you act, and why you're doing what you're doing. And so you've got this new year coming up, right? And everyone, for some reason, between Thanksgiving and Christmas or even New Year's, starts to slow down. And the reality of it is, this is where we should be speeding up. Because if there's a lack of people doing work, there's more opportunity for us if we are. And so many strides can be made between, well, I'm going to wait till the Christmas parties, the holiday parties are over before I start eating healthy. Why? They're 1 or 2 days, maybe 4 if there's parties involved. You get to pick and choose what you want to drink or eat. But a lot of times we're just doing what the normal people are doing, but we want to be extraordinary, but we're doing what normal people do. And guess what? You do what normal people do, you're a normal person. So we're going to talk about certain tactics to get you ready mentally, physically, psychologically for being a better version of you. And this is the perfect opportunity with a new year coming, because for some reason everyone gets fired up to do something and they don't actually plan it. They're like, oh, well, this is what I'm going to do. And my question is why? And it's not why, it's why do you want to do it this way? And most people have no concept of why they do what they do or are going to do. So we're going to start to discuss a little bit about this right now. Now, in this industry of real estate, be it investing or selling or buying or whatever you're doing, flipping, There's this thing going on right now that, ooh, prices are high, interest rates are high, people aren't selling, people aren't buying, but that's not true. There's always going to be someone purchasing or selling, right? What's the difference? You may have to work a little bit harder. You may have to do a little bit more. But by doing that, that prepares you for when times are lean or when times are doing really well. How many people drop off when it gets a little difficult in anything, be it a walk race for 5K? Well, I'm not doing as well. I'm like, are you doing better? Well, it's slowed down. Okay. How do you get back into the pace? What are you doing to ensure that you're doing everything possible to get client satisfaction, to get new clients, right? Well, it all starts with you. Are you doing what it takes? And do you know why you're doing what you're doing? So we're going to discuss that starting off right now. So how are you going to set yourself up for success, right? So everyone goes big picture. I'm like, no. We're going to start today, right now. So what I want you to do is grab a notebook or some paper, something to write with. And I want you just to think about a simple thing. And it's an easy question. Why do you do what you do? And a lot of people go right to business. No, let's start with you first. Why do you do what you do? That's a real general question, right? So let's look at some examples of why you do what you do. Why do you put your shoes on the way you do? Why do you wake up at a certain time in the morning? Why do you eat what you eat? And most of these things are, I don't know, it's what I've always done. It's just what I do. What if I told you if you did it just a little bit better, you can make a lot more money? Simple, right? It's not easy. So think about how you put your shoes on. Do you put a sock on first, and then a shoe? Do you put both socks on? Okay, which sock goes on first? Why do you do it that way? Which shoe goes on first? Do you slide them on? Do you untie them? Do you tie them tight? Do you put shoes on that are different from sneakers to dress shoes? Like, these are crazy questions, right? But you have no idea. And this is the same system that's dictating how much money you're making, how much energy you have, and how you interact with people. We're always being reactive instead of proactive. So we're going to go over just a little things to take a look at right now to figure out why you do what you do. So what I want you to do is write down the time you wake up on average. And again, people get a little weird on weekends. So let's just do Monday through Friday. What time do you wake up? And then why do you wake up at that time? And what happens between the time you wake up and the time you have to be? And the reason I'm using the word have to is because that's what we believe. We have to be out the door doing something. Say you get up at 6 o'clock. Why not 5:30? Why not 7 o'clock? You have reasons for doing what you do. You just may not know what they are. And if they're valid reasons, great. Like, I get up at 6:30. My daughter has to be at school by 7:45. So I get up, I have a foam roller, I roll out, I have a glass of water that I put liquid chlorophyll that's very alkaline with some essential mineral drops because all our bodies need minerals. I drink that on an empty stomach. After I roll out, take a shower, I get dressed. I'm going to the gym to exercise. Now, I didn't say anything about checking emails. I may look on my phone for some social media type stuff, but I'm not being involved in other people's issues right now. It's all about me. So I go to the gym, exercise with some strength training, some cardiovascular work. I get home, I start my day by figuring out what I'm going to eat, and it's usually something healthy. And then I go check my computer. Well, why did I do it that way? Because before, I would get up and look at my computer and there's emails, right? And these people need things right away. And then I'm running around doing stuff for them. And I'm not ready to take my daughter to school then. Now, my wife is out of town right now. She usually makes lunch for my daughter for school. So I realized, okay, I need to get up earlier, prepare something in the evening so I don't have to run around and be, quote, late and stressed. So I took care of it. But I knew she was leaving and I knew I would have to do something. But how many people here know something's coming and they do nothing about it until the day it arrives and then we panic and we have to get all these things done? Everyone knows the holidays are coming. Everyone knows New Year's coming. Everyone knows when the sun comes up and the sun goes down. You can look at the news and watch the weather pattern so you can be prepared if you need to be. Now, you get up. Why do you get up? Now, here's the other thing. I want you to write down, let's just look at today, and maybe you have or have not eaten yet. What are you eating right now? And why are you eating what you ate? So here's a typical thing that I've already eaten. I didn't eat when I worked out. So we had some spaghetti sauce left with ground turkey in it. Put that in a skillet. This is breakfast because why do we have to eat breakfast food at breakfast? Like, who says we have to? So there's protein, there's some carbohydrates, but not many from the sauce. 2 eggs on top. You got to try it. It's amazing. Then I have a blender. I throw a complete skin and all lemon, raw cranberries, a handful, blueberries, ginger, water, ice, and 2 scoops of this green powder. Blend it up, and I had that with it. Why? Protein, a little bit of carbohydrates, but the lemon, vitamin C, very good for digestion. There's also ginger in there, great for digestion. Blueberries and raw cranberries are great antioxidants and have these things called phenylalanines, which are good for inflammation. It doesn't taste super sweet, but it doesn't taste bad. And people are like, the whole lemon. You'd be surprised what's in that skin. It tastes amazing. It's not super sour in any way. Why do I do that? Because I enjoy it. Do I do the same thing all the time? No, but there's some form of what I'm doing. I know why I'm doing it. I keep my carbohydrates, processed sugars, wheats. I don't eat any gluten. I just keep that out of my diet. It keeps down inflammation for me. Because if back in the day I drank beer and I loved microbrewed beers, my stomach would swell out. Everyone's like, oh, you've got some aversion to gluten. I'm like, okay, let's look up really what it is. Gluten hasn't really been an issue since it started in the 80s. Why? Mass-produced wheat that is not like it used to be, digests completely different than it used to. Our stomachs can't handle it. Certain genetics causes inflammation. I went on a vacation once to Italy with my wife. I ate pizza, pasta, all kinds of stuff. Nothing bothered me because they don't allow that food. We can go on that tangent all over the place. But the reality is you may need to figure out what bothers you and what doesn't. A lot of these, quote, diets are actually just eliminating certain things that are causing inflammation. So when someone becomes vegan, they stop eating certain processed foods and again, they feel better. Or they go completely the opposite side, they go to a keto or carnivore. They stop eating, again, mass-produced foods, and they feel better. Do both work? Yes. Does every diet work? Yes, for someone. That's why I want you to start becoming aware of what works for you and why you're eating what you're eating. Now, it's interesting when it comes to caffeine for energy, right? People brew coffee. I think it smells great. But coffee doesn't give you energy. Coffee blunts a chemical reaction in your body that tells you you're tired. So guess what? If it shuts that off and then when it wears off, you get exhausted, it's because that coffee, when you drink it, it's not really affecting you. I mean, it is, but it's a fake reaction. You feel like right when you smell it, oh, I feel awake. It's just your brain believing that the coffee is making you feel some way. So it actually is. Now, is there anything wrong with coffee? Nope. But you can still feel that way without drinking caffeine. Now, is there anything wrong with caffeine? No. But if you're relying on caffeine to have energy, figure out why. And that's the next thing we want to talk about is sleep. Why is sleep important? Sleep is where we recover. And a lot of people here are hustling and grinding, right? Got to get out there and make it happen. So what happens when we're making it happen? We're neglecting everything that matters to our recovery. We're pushing, we're going, we're burning at both ends. We're exhausted. I don't have time to go socialize. I got to get these deals done. For what? To make a bunch of money. For who? To do what? Family doesn't see you. You're miserable. You're not healthy. Oh, but you got a job and you're successful. But are you? What are you taking with you? How many experiences are you missing out on? Now, I'm not saying there aren't times in our lives where we should be out there and working a little bit harder when we're building something, but we have to enjoy the process of why we're doing what we're doing, because we're going to hate the outcome because it's not going to give us what we expect it to. Trust me, I've worked with some highly, highly successful people who are miserable. Their success and millions of dollars they're making, but they don't know their kids because they weren't around. Their wife is like a roommate. They may see each other on weekends or when something's scheduled, but what are they doing when they're with in front of their family? They're on their phone. They're not being present. So this is where sleep is huge. It's recovery. Now, it's not the amount. There is some, like at least a minimum of 6 hours, preferably 7 to 8, but it's the quality of sleep you're getting. And there's all kinds of devices from Apple Watches to Aura rings, even beds that monitor your quality of sleep. And they look at it where you're breathing and how much you move around. But it's great to have REM sleep and deep sleep. Hypnosis is an amazing thing that by doing it for 30 or 40 minutes, it's like getting 8 hours of really restful sleep. Advantage of working with me. So the cool thing is when we get more sleep, we have more energy. Guess what? We're more creative. We're less stressed and we feel better. So what happens when we don't recover and we're not eating correctly? What have we seen in society that's affecting people the most medically? What are these, quote, diseases? It's all based on inflammation, autoimmune stuff. It's because our bodies have been so stressed out that our hormones are out of balance. Our gut health is completely screwed up. Our adrenal fatigue, our thyroid doesn't work. We have all these skin things going on, and doctors in Western medicine, not to really beat them up too bad, but they're working on symptoms, not working on the cause. But I don't have time for that. Give me a pill. I got stuff to do. Until we're so beat up that we're taken out of the game. And guess what? Now, without our health, we don't have a business. We don't have happiness. And we're trying to figure out, hopefully, we have insurance on how to take care of ourselves. And then that's when everyone runs and says, hey, can we sit down and talk? I'm like, we should have done this months ago. But I'm still open. Now, when someone gets blood work, they're like, what is this blood work telling me? And again, if you look at normal doctors, they're going to say, oh, well, you're fine. You're in the minimum range. But who wants to be minimum and just enough? Why don't we want to be optimum? So hormones, right? What do? Men with low testosterone, even women with low testosterone, irritable, exhausted, heart issues. Am I saying that everyone needs to go out there and do hormone replacement therapy? No. But get your blood work done to know why you're doing what you're doing, and you'd be quite shocked. Like this Hashimoto's disease is the thyroid's not functioning correctly because it's an autoimmune issue. There could be certain minerals or supplements that are low in your system that could actually benefit to make that heal more. But we have to slow down to actually then go see different types of experts in different fields and figure out what works best for us. Now, gut health is one of these huge things where people are like, what's the big deal? When we were getting food out of our backyard, saw that question, I'll go back to that in a second. I have a clinic that it's called Aspire Rejuvenation. They do blood work for all my clients. They go through LabCorp. They look at your cholesterol levels, your vitamin D levels, you name it, hormones. They'll sit down and talk with you. If you want to work with them, great. If you don't, at least you know where you stand. For example, I had a gentleman who I'm working with now, and he was working with a doctor who's like, okay, do this protocol. So he goes to the people that I sent him to, and they're like, your testosterone's 187. He needs to be around 700 or 800. He goes, but I'm taking what they told me. I'm like, yeah, but how do you know it's what you need? They just slap something on there. And he's like, wow, these people actually talk to you about how your sleep affects your testosterone level, what you eat affects it, all these things. I'm like, exactly. Everything's affecting everything. And so that's why I wanted to share with you guys today these simple things that we can do. So, gut health, right? What is that all about? When people were growing food in their yards or gardens, they're natural probiotics because it's not oversaturated with chemicals and fertilizers, pesticides and herbicides, and you would eat it, there'd be a little dirt on it, and you're getting probiotics that way. But because of commercialized farming, we're not getting that. Now, you can get some probiotics through fermented foods, but there's only a certain amount of strains you'll get that way. So you can get probiotics that are freeze dried, you can get them that you have to refrigerate. There's all different types and there's all different strains. So you want to mix and match and rotate different strains of probiotics. Now, the reason we bring this up is when you go to a doctor and you're sick, they give you an antibiotic. What does an antibiotic do? It kills anything that has biotic in it. That means bad bacteria and probiotics. It wipes out all your gut health. But who was ever given probiotics after they've gone through a whole realm of antibiotics? No one. So now your gut health is low, your immune system's been compromised. And guess who comes back with a vengeance? Bad bacteria. Not necessarily get you sick, but it's the ones that create candida, yeast, that create all kinds of digestive issues. I mean, that is the biggest thing that's happening in the world. So getting probiotics, and what are digestive enzymes? They break down certain foods. So our gut produces alkaline and acidic probiotics, right? Alkaline for fruits and vegetables, acidic for fats and proteins. But a lot of times we're mixing and matching foods and they're creating neutral, and we get the bloated feeling and the gas, and wondering where is this coming from, or why the cheese hurt my stomach or made me constipated, or all these kind of things, because your body doesn't have the right things to break these things down. Now, why is that important? Well, guess where a lot of your serotonin is made? Serotonin is a feel-good hormone. 90% is in your stomach, your digestive tract, your intestines. When you have a happy, healthy gut, you are a happy, healthier person. So I really go into detail about what works for you and how to start that whole program in a way that you're going to benefit from it. Now, here's a simple one, which most people, it's happening to them and they're not realizing it, and that's hydration. So if you're dehydrated, which 80% of people are, if you're thirsty right now, you're dehydrated. So I am a little bit, so that's why I have water, right? Now, is water all the same? Heck no. So now what do we got to be worried about? What's in our water? Well, guess what? Anything that's dumped into the ground or into the sewer system gets into your water. So you have to realize, like, okay, is bottled water healthy? I don't trust people. Why would you? Test your bottled water to find out how much chlorine's in it. Is it acidic or is it alkaline? What does alkaline water actually do? I mean, does it make you alkaline? I don't know, just smoother tasting. But there could be filter systems that you want to make sure that you're getting all these heavy metals. Guess what you're finding in our water? Prescription drugs. Because people throw them down toilet. But guess what? When you go to the bathroom, where do you think the antibiotics and all the drugs you're taking go? Out of you, and they're still active. So think about all the people you know in the world and all the crazy medications they're taking. blood pressure, antipsychotics, birth control. It's all going into, guess what? The water system. Where do you think that's being filtered out? It's not, because it's not filtering out those things at a micro level. Just think about that. Now, why is this important? When you're dehydrated, you can't think clearly and you have 40% less energy. Now, people talk about just water. I'm like, okay, fine. Let's just talk about water. But any liquid, as long as it doesn't dehydrate you as you're drinking it, does caffeine and certain things have a diuretic effect? Yes. But there's nothing wrong with drinking coffees or teas or alcohol or any type of soda once in a while, even. Like, I'm not saying every day, but don't be like, I don't touch that stuff or whatever. You know what? If you went around not doing all the things you said you were not going to do, you'd probably be bored. So, fine, once in a while, blue moon, have a soda or whatever you want, but don't make it a habit. The thing is, water is going to flush out all your systems in your body. Guess what? Kidney stones and liver disease are on the rise. Why? They're both filtrating organ systems. Drinking water helps them out. You'll feel much better. Now, what can you do to make water better? Put some fruit in it, lemon, lime, an orange slice, give it some flavor, put some drops in it. It doesn't matter. Just use as much natural things as you possibly can to give it some flavor and drink. How much water should you drink? I have no idea, because I'm not you. But I would bet if you doubled it, you'd be fine. But there are people who drink, oh, you can die if you drink too much water. Okay, you're right. If you do anything in excess, it's not good for you. So if you're already drinking a gallon of water, I'm not saying double it to 2 gallons, but again, people go, well, when I start drinking a ton of water, I'm going to the bathroom. Guess what it's doing? It's flushing out your toxins. And once you start doing it for a while, it'll go back to normal. That's the thing, is people don't want to be inconvenienced by change. So here are the simple things we've covered so far. Knowing what you're eating, writing it down. Write down why you wake up, when you wake up, for how much sleep you're getting, and what you're doing in the morning. Is it for you or for someone else? Look at your food you're taking in and your gut health. Have your blood checked. And hydration. Now, this is a program I put together, and I'll give you guys the PDF for it. It's called the 5-Day Mindset Reset Challenge, right? And that's what I'm actually going over. It's called Awareness Challenge. So what we're going to cover real quick is, in the first day, we're going to look at our health. And this is our overall physical and emotional health. And you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, and you feel like, are you motivated every day mentally and have that physical stamina to take on life's challenges? Guess what? When you wake up, you get to decide who you want to be that day. So what's influencing it? Everything I just talked about. Externally, you've got bombardment of all the amazing negative news in the world coming at you from every angle, night and day, 24/7. Is everyone right? No. Is everyone wrong? No. But you get to decide what you want to bring in and how's it going to affect you. If it's negative news, what are you watching it for? If you're not running for politics or working on someone's political campaign, you're not going to change anyone's view on the way you view politics. So don't waste your time. You're going to get into arguments that aren't going to help you in any way. When it comes to all these genders and things out there, is it affecting you? Does it matter? Or are you just getting caught up in everyone's hype? If you go on certain stations, you think the world's coming to an end. Are there some nasty things that are happening in the world? Yes. Are people doing stupid things? Yes. But at the same instance, I was watching a YouTube video about a kid. He's 10 years old, and he's on a radio station, and he's at the hospital, and the two DJs are talking about how a year before they went into the hospital and they met him. And the reason they have him on the air is he's stage 4 cancer, and he's had it since he was 8, and they give him any time to live, and he's lived for 4 years so far. As the story goes, there was on the door of the news station or the radio station a bag, and in the bag there was 132 letters that this kid wrote for Christmas so that people in the military had someone writing to them. Now, not only has he done that, but he's written letters to people in the local prisons around him. And people are like, why would a kid write these notes? And he goes, I'm going through something difficult. I know what being alone feels like and not having hope and feeling stressed out. And I just wanted to let these people know that there's someone thinking about them. This kid is suffering. And as the story keeps going, there gets to a point where the father comes on and says, yeah, we're leaving the hospital today. And everyone's like, okay, cool. Like, he's cured. And no, the doctors can do nothing else for him. This kid's still doing all these amazing things. He's not sticking his head in the sand and going, woe is me. And his parents are learning so much about giving back. And that's what this is about. It's about giving back. It's about finding the positive things in this world, even though there's chaos always around us. And so you get to get up every day and make a difference, not only in yourself, but in the world around you. And you get to make that choice starting in the evening, starting what you're putting in and influencing your thought process. So that's what we're really going to get into, is everything that I've already gone over affects your mental attitude. If you don't do it, it affects it negatively. If you find out where you're at and you start improving those simple things, you will be shocked at how quickly you become a healthier, happier person, and how much more money you're going to make in the world, because you're serving more people. You're having that little extra energy that people pick up on, like, ooh, that's something unique about that person. Because what makes us different than everyone else out there is us. How many realtors just, okay, let's look at these houses and let's do this. Or, hey, you're looking for that new home. Tell me a little bit about what you're looking forward to. That person takes 5 extra seconds and brings their energy into what matters, and that is human connections. And that's what we all do all day long, regardless of what business you're in. It's about human connection. And when we can create small connections and make people smile, it lights us up. And that, yeah, there's a transaction going to happen. There's transactions everywhere. But why are they doing it with you? Because you made a little difference in their life. And that's what this is all about. So I want you to first start with you. Let's make those little differences in your life so that you can do it in other people. So when it comes to relationships, intimate, do you trust and deeply appreciate the person you're with in a loving connection with a significant other? And here's the little catch to it. Are you patient, respectful, being present and attentive to that person? Because guess what? How we treat others is how we're treating ourselves. And sometimes we're not. So the crazy thing about this work is how the person and the people around closest to you start going, what are you doing different? It's weird. You're not the same person. And they're expecting you to stop doing what you're doing. And one of my clients said, Shawn, if we weren't doing what we did, when my son and daughter got into a head-on car accident, I would have lost it and not been there for them. But I was more present for them and took care of them. And then we went on vacation, and my daughter came to me and she goes, Mom, I'm so happy that you're not on your phone. And they do property management. And she goes, you're present for once and you're here. Not just you're here, but you're here, like we're doing stuff together. And we don't realize like how other people are seeing what we're doing when we're not paying attention. And those are huge in these relationships. Then like when it comes to family and friends, are you seeking out those positive people in your life? Now, granted, we all have crazy families sometimes and have that one person, but why are we engaging in the craziness? You have to make decisions. Are those people supporting you? Client yesterday wants to be a professional baseball player. He has the ability to be a professional baseball player. Best friend says, why do you keep doing that? Why don't you just go into business with me? We'll do personal training. Girlfriend says, couldn't you just get a job and it'd be easier? Guess what? The same exact energy, drive, and motivation to get a normal job, to be a personal trainer, is the exact same thing he has to do in baseball to be successful. You have to decide, are you going to do the little extras that other people aren't willing to do to rise to the top? Because once you get to the top, it's easy because there's not that many people there. You're the best realtor, you're the best investor, you're the best home flipper. Guess what? You're not doing anything. People are sending people to you left and right because they know you're the best. Are you the best because of the quality of work? Yes. Are you the best because of customer service? Yes. Are you the best because you follow through with everything you say? Yes. You are the best at everything. You're the best person at home because what you do is who you are everywhere. So don't think you can be super successful in business and have a crappy home life and they're not going to affect each other. Don't think if you're completely out of shape that that's not affecting your bottom, end of your business. It does. But being in shape isn't a size. It's a mental attitude and it's a willingness to become better. I've worked with people who were larger, but they were happy, they were healthy, they were moving towards being better. That's what this is about. So when you can just make 1% change every day, it's going to make a huge impact as you keep going. But the thing is, we don't get that initial satisfaction instantly. Trust me, the people who were successful, they didn't get there overnight. They did a ton of stuff behind the scenes, but they were consistent. And that's how this stuff works. You're doing your daily routines consistently. Now you're just going to make some slight changes to make them even better. Now, the mission, what's this big thing in life called your mission, right? You want a clear, energetic, fulfilled work and contributing to the world, right? I believe my work and day's effort really make value in the world, not just in your business. You're a true reflection of your best efforts and contributions every day. If you go to a grocery store, don't do the self-checkout, but you go in and you come up to the person, they work where we go. It's like, did you find everything you needed? How was your day? It's like canned responses. If you say, hey, how are you doing today? They're like, what? Because there's so many zombies walking through that line. They're in a rush, that don't even talk to them, that just want to buy something and get out. And it's interesting when you start talking because my wife's like, everyone talks to you. I'm like, why not? I'm there. Let's make them smile. What is the issue of making people smile? Because guess what? You're stuck in your own BS. And you're just worried about the next thing that's happening and you're not being present. And guess what? Your biggest connections in life could be right in front of you and you don't even know it. So start paying attention to what's actually around you. Now, finances. This is an interesting one. You have a level of abundance. You need to have a stable income and lifestyle you desire for yourself and your family. You earn and invest at levels you had hoped at this time in your life. You have a clear vision for improving your finances and lifestyles in the next few years. Now, remember, we're gearing this on a scale of 1 to 10. There's no right or wrong on this. Where are you at right now? But the thing is, having this clear vision to improve. We're just talking about finances. What do you think you're capable of doing in the next 3 months, 6 months, a year? I had a client who was like, yeah, it's going to take me 7.5 years to get this. I'm like, where did that come from? He's like, I don't know. I'm like, no, seriously, where'd it come from? You just made that up in your head, didn't you? That it takes that long to be successful. Because, well, that's what I thought. I'm like, how, you ever been successful? He's like, no. I'm like, so how the hell do you know how long it's going to take if you've never been successful? He's like, well, I assumed it's a lot of hard work. I'm like, no. It's hard to get going, but once you get going, it's exponentially going to build on itself. The 7.5 year goal, 1.5 years, hit it. He's like, how the hell did this happen? I said, did you have fun? He goes, yeah. Was it stressful? Yes, it's always going to be stressful. I said, what did you do with the stress? Exercised, ate right, took some more vacations than you ever took in your life, got your dream house, got your dream car. He's like, yeah. I'm like, or you could have been a cop like you used to be and doing just enough, but you had a career with a pension, but now you're a millionaire, and a year ago you were broke, living out of your car, just opening your office. Whoa, that's huge. And everyone's like, well, that's the exception. I'm like, no, it's not. It's the belief that it's possible. And you have to have that dream first. But all these things we're talking about are going to support you to do that without self-doubt. But we all have self-doubt. So how do we overcome it? Here's the crazy one that everyone that I work with doesn't have. a hobby. You have a passionate pastime that allows you to express and enjoy and develop your outside thing besides your job or your career. And you give yourself enough time to love doing this thing. That's a waste of time. I'll get to that later. Really? Let's talk about this later thing that I listened to. It's about this super successful guy who saw his son playing a field where he played. He's like, oh, it's so cool that my son's playing on the field that I played on. Then as you listen to the story, he didn't realize he was saying this. He goes, yeah, man, I used to play there all the time, and my dad was always working, was never there. So, I don't have any. It was cool that I got to play football, and it's cool that my son's there. And he goes, yeah, I've been running around and working so much. Once in a while, I'll catch a game. Like, you just became your dad. What's the difference? Who cares where your kid's playing, where you played, if you're not there to watch it? One of my clients gets to watch and go to his son's practices as much as he wants. And he goes, man, I thought that if I did this, I wouldn't be making the money. He goes, but the reality of it is, this stuff's priceless. Got to see his first soccer goal. Got to be there when it didn't go great. To be there with him and for him. And he goes, the crazy part is, I don't know why, but I trusted you on this. And it doubled my income. And I also got to be a part of this in my son's life. But normal people tell you that that's not possible. And I'm here to tell you guys, if you want it to be possible, it's possible. So rate that. And then there's this thing called spirit. I don't know your religious beliefs, spirituality, but feel connected to the present moment and vitally alive in life. Be congruent with your beliefs, your core values, your behaviors. Make your decisions and daily actions from those. And here's the thing that I know for a fact. When we are outside of those core values and we make an exception to that person or that thing we're taking on, that usually becomes our biggest problem. And we start having to deal with that and not deal with the people who wanted to be there, who want to work, who want to be successful. We're working with a person we're having to try to prove that this actually works for. Be very selective in who you allow into your life that is going to be there, like everyone is, temporarily. Enjoy those relationships, however long they last. And if the relationship isn't working, decide what you're going to do with it. Don't allow it to go on because maybe they'll leave me. It's 5 years later and you're miserable. And then the person says to you, well, you didn't want to be here either? Well, why don't we just talk about this? Well, I was afraid to be the one that broke this up. I'm not talking about personal relationships. I'm also talking about business relationships. Like, have the hard conversations that you believe are hard. And guess what? If you have them early enough, they're not hard conversations. You'd be shocked at how many both parties would believe the same thing and want to move on. So, taking all this into consideration, how are you going to make some slight changes on everything we've covered? So this is the action I'd like you to write down and do. Get up 15 minutes, maybe even a half hour earlier. Do some breathing and some stretching. Listen to a positive podcast or meditation. That's it. Drink 2 extra glasses of water. Nothing difficult. Cut out sugary foods for 5 days. That's it. Simple. Make it healthy. Okay? Then, here's the kicker. 30 minutes, maybe an hour before you go to bed, get off of all electronics. They stimulate your brain. Put them down. Read a book. Don't watch TV because that's still blue light. Have a conversation. Here's the exception. You can put your phone on and listen to meditation music behind you as long as you're not looking at the screen. The one last thing I want you to do is get a notebook of some type and write down what you're grateful for each day. Something you saw, a conversation, nature. I don't care what it is. Just write down 5 or 6 things that you're like, I'm grateful for these things in my life. And just watch in 5 days, all of this starts shifting in the most miraculous, fast way possible. So, what do you do with all this stuff? Well, you have to change, because the person who you are right now in life is not going to serve you for who and where you want to be. Because guess what? If it was, you'd already be there. So you're going to have to make some drastic changes in you and your belief system. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck where you're stuck. And there's nothing wrong with, I got what I need. But I don't think you're here because you got what you need. I think you want more, because you're investing in yourselves. So why don't you really invest in yourself, so that all these other investments you're going through, you're grasping that material, you're taking action with that material, you're getting motivated by other people in the group, you're holding and supporting each other and being accountable, so you get to that level of success. Because the only way that people got there, they did one of 2 things. They were a peak performer, where they go, 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 hit the goal, they get exhausted, get sick, and they drop off. Then they got to regroup, do it all over again, and push, 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 hustle and grind. Now, here's what I want you to understand about grinding. If you grind something, it never gets sharp and it never gets polished. But after you ground off the heavy junk, then I want you to figure out how you can start smoothing out your systems, how you can polish it to get that sharp edge. And realize, you want to keep an edge on something. Before you use it, you clean it, you polish it, you sharpen it, then you use it. And when you're done with it, you do it again, so it's ready next time you need it. Because a dull knife sucks, and that's where most people get cut. But the only reason you're sharpening a knife, because it's dull. Why don't you sharpen it so you know it's sharp when you're ready to use it? And that's your mind, and that's your body. So keep that on point, keep it sharp, keep it ready, because you never know when the time and place is going to come where you're going to have to jump up into, oh my God, this deal is huge. I don't know if I can handle it. But guess what? I've got systems and people in place to support me. I'm not doing this life alone. And not only in business do you have that support system, but in your personal life, you have people to lean on to help hold you up. But the only way to do that is to tell people what you need, have deeper conversations without making assumptions, getting ready energetically when certain things start to shift. Guess what? There's no flu season. There's I eat more crap, which puts pressure on and suppresses my immune system. So if you believe that people are getting sick more often, then why are you not taking certain supplements that are going to help boost your immune system? Like, get ready before it happens. So these are all the things that I go through in my 5-day habit changes. There's all kinds of questions in there where it goes through in more detail about what we talked about. And you just get to start to realize, like, where's my energy during the day? Why is my attitude the way it is? If a crappy feeling when I'm in traffic, why am I doing that? Let's play some happy music, man. Like, I don't know if you've noticed, but people put up holiday decorations 2 weeks early this year because of how stressed out they are, because they wanted to enjoy it. So guess what? You have an opportunity here to surround yourself with like-minded people, to get connected, to make major changes in your life. These simple things that I laid out for you today are just the start of what I'm going to be bringing to you guys on a regular basis. So thanks for being here. I know this is a ton of information. Go back through, watch the recordings. I will get this 5-day habit out, so you guys have this PDF. You can take a look at it, go through it. If you have questions, they have my information. You guys will be able to reach out. I'll answer those in as much detail as you're wanting to have. And if you guys want to go more in depth on certain topics that we covered today, let me know, and I'll do specific things. I can also bring in other experts, from the hormones to all these different areas, that can give you examples of how this type of work makes a huge improvement in your overall well-being. So appreciate y'all being here. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Shawn. This was awesome. I definitely have a couple of questions.
Sure.
So I will send you a little email. because I just started antibiotics for a tooth extraction. So I'm already have some stomach issues with gluten and everything. So I'm like, okay. So when you mentioned the chlorophyll, I have trouble with that one as well. I can't take it. So I'm just going to jot you a few little questions and see if you can give me a little direction. But we definitely want to have you back. This is awesome. And once we get through, I guess everybody's a little tied up. I know I talked to Megan. Your schedule's a little crazy too for the holidays. We definitely want to get together, person to person.
Sounds great.
So Appreciate it. All right. Well, thank you again for joining us.
You're welcome.
Have a great day. And Merry Christmas if we don't see you.
Yeah, you also. See ya. Bye.
Thank you.